Welcome, welcome, welcome to another exciting episode of Wind Down with Kev. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, whether you're tuning into live stream on YouTube, IG, Facebook, whether you're listening to it later on whatever podcast platform you're on. Thank you. You are appreciated. Special thanks to all of you who have already hit the subscribe and notification button. You are appreciated. We can't do it without you. And we also cannot do it without our sponsors, Carol Media and Canopy Connect. Please reach out to them for all things social, all things digital. So today, we are taking a journey to the low country of South Carolina. We have a phenomenal guest coming your way. He has been an all-state agent since 2020. He's won honoring, he's winning summit. He serves on his local school board. He's a good man. He gives back to his community. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Give a warm Wind Down with Kev. Welcome to Justin Farnsworth.
Howdy.
Justin, what's going on, man?
Rock and roll, Kevin. I'm stoked, man. I'm, listen, I watch and listen and I see your stuff. And so when I saw you looking for agents around the country, I said, abso-freaking-lutely, I'm in. So, yeah, man.
Thank you for signing up right away. You make it easier for me by jumping in. So we'll get to the insurance stuff, but I got to tell you, I wore this golf hat just for you. You can't see it. It has a 1963. That's kind of special to me. It's the year I came to this place. And then it's got North Hills Country Club. It's a little golf club here in Long Island. I'm actually a terrible golfer, but I wanted to connect with you because I know you golf.
I do, and what's funny about that, we moved to a golf course community a few years ago. Well, I say a few years ago. Holy cow, it's been like 10 years ago. And I've probably played less golf in my life living on a golf course than I ever have.
Not good, man. It's like too much Ben & Jerry's ice cream is right there for you. And you keep getting distracted by things like work and your responsibilities on the school board. We got to change that.
Right. Amen. I'm in. But Low Country, you talk about just a golf paradise.
Is that right?
Yeah. Amazing, amazing golf courses. Just beautiful. You can go really even our worst course, I would say, is probably some of the best golf you'll ever have across the country. For sure.
Okay. Well, Justin, talk to me. When you're spending your time properly and playing golf, what kind of golfer are you? Give me some numbers, man. Give me a handicap.
No, it's bad. It's bad. I won't even go there. I won't embarrass myself.
That's okay. I'll take the hat off. I won't pretend to be a golfer. You don't have to pretend to be a golfer either. We're good. We are good. Whatever you said next, I had no comeback. That's all I know. That's all I know.
Yeah, man.
So Justin, November 2020, the whole world comes to a screeching halt, and you decide to become an all-state agent. How does that happen?
Right. Yeah. Talk about an interesting time to get into any business. As we were looking around, and I'll tell you, so the story there. I came from banking. I came from wealth management.
Okay, nice.
And had done that for a number of years. I was military. I was Navy.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely proud to have served. That's how I ended up in Charleston. And so when I got out, really went into the business world, operations, stock trading, wealth management, banking, you name it. And over time, really just had a desire, deep-seated desire to be entrepreneurial and be a business owner. And so my wife and I really started kind of looking at all the possibilities for business ownership. So this was, 2019, 2020, and really everything under the sun. We were looking at convenience stores. We were looking at restaurants, food and bev, you name it.
Wow.
And this had popped up, the opportunity had popped up that an agency was opening right where we live. And it just made perfect sense. Obviously had somewhat of a knowledge bank of financial services. And so insurance really just, when I looked at it, made a whole lot of sense for us to jump into.
I see the parallels when you convenience store. I'm like agreeing. When you said restaurants, you scared me.
Yep.
Couple of businesses I'm afraid of. Restaurants is one of them. I'm really good at ordering food. I can order. I can finish the best steak that you can serve me.
Yep.
But running a restaurant business, oh man, that's a
I
different game.
dodged the bullet. Yeah, for sure. And even to this day, I thank my lucky stars. The liability nowadays with food
Yes.
and bev, holy cow. So, but yeah, so that was kind of the journey there. And so when this, opened up for an agency right here in our hometown, and I could legitimately work, play, live here, it doesn't get any better. So jumped all over it.
No, that's absolutely phenomenal. All states happy to have you. Glad that you're here. 4.5 years into the game. What do you love about being an all-state agent?
Uh, what I really love? I love the act. I love learning about leading a team. I love growth. I love seeing our agency. When I came in as an agent, there were three of us. It was an old school agency. Kind of living on renewals. And I look at it now. There's 13 of us total,
Wow.
and and so to me, that's really impactful to know, and to see that growth and to be able to do it in a way that's sustainable. I think is really, really meaningful to me. I just love what I get to do, and have an impact on a whole lot of people's lives. Just not only from a business perspective, from an insurance perspective. There's some really cool stuff that we get to do as business owners.
I love it, man. Just your pivot from 3 people to 13 people. You have every small business owner in the country zoning in on your words right now. Not only insurance, the hardest thing for all business people to do, you can finish my sentence, is to find good people. So, backstory, how do you get from 3 to 13? How did you recruit them? How do you onboard it? And most importantly, how do you keep them?
Sure, yeah, I love it. What it comes down to is culture.
Okay.
At the end of the day, that's it. What I've really tried to do when I will say when I started to figure this stuff out, because none of us have it all figured out. If we
No,
did, we would not be here.
no.
But what I really started to see was you have to build an amazing, amazing culture.
Mhm.
You have to love people. You've got to love what you do. And in addition to that, I think it's paramount that you build for the future. It's the whole, hey, where do I want to be 5, 10 years from now? What am I trying to build to? And then setting the foundation, right? So
Mhm.
we, as an agency, when we go into something, whether it's let's just say a new lead vendor, when we're bringing on a new person, whatever that may be, we build a foundation. We build out an entire process to make sure that specific puzzle piece
Yes.
goes back to the culture,
Yes.
and that's what it's all about. I preach. I had the opportunity to speak at the Allstate conference, the agent conference last year,
Okay.
and one of the things that I really, really brought home, or to me, it's 3 P's, right? People, process, passion. That
Man, we use the same 3 P's. Um, one is different, and I like yours a little better. I always tell people it's 3 parts to a business: people, products, and processes. But
mhm.
passion is the fuel that drives the other 3 P's. So let me use one of my timeouts here to dive into culture. People throw the word culture out all the time. Webster definition of culture might be a way of life. Give me a business definition of what does culture mean in your agency? I show up in Charleston, in your agency, Somerville, Monday morning. Culture mean? What are the things I have to do to fit in? What kind of people are you looking for? What kind of energy? What kind of attitude? What do I have to do to make it work?
Sure. I think what we are really driving towards, it goes back to that passion, right? It's interesting because it's kind of twofold. We need people that fit our culture, and then we've created our own culture. Listen, it's as simple. You can see, like, I'm in a hoodie and a t-shirt.
Yes.
I'm not ashamed to tell you, in the summertime, we're in shorts and flip-flops.
Okay. That's culture. You probably reflect the community. So your people that are coming in, you get walk-in traffic. You have people coming into the agency.
We do, for sure. But again, I want my folks to be comfortable, because that's when they're comfortable, they're going to be comfortable with customers, right? Nice. They're going to be comfortable with prospects. And it just really enables us to create more of that culture. But we want, we want high energy folks. I want folks that believe in what we do. They have to buy into our story, right? They have to buy into our brand. That we would, I tell them from day one, we will be, and it's not overnight, but we will be the number one Allstate agency in the Southeast.
Flat out, not South Carolina, the Southeast. So we're inviting a couple of other states into the challenge.
Absolutely. And listen, you saw me watching. All my buddies down there, Greg, I'm coming for you. Filer, I'm coming for all these guys, right? But if you don't have that kind of passion behind it, you'll never get there, right? But I think, going back to the culture question, to me, what I've found, and through leadership roles and seeing other leaders, good and bad, if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have those processes, none of the other stuff matters. It just doesn't.
I love it. I'm staying with culture because I'm taking notes on your background, Navy background, service to our country, pretty regimented culture. You nor I would be a part of the beer gang in the Navy. We're both clean face. Mm-hmm. Banking and wealth management, Monday, very white shirt, blue jacket. Mm-hmm. Casual day means gray slacks or tan slacks. Yep. And you come into your own business and you create a casual culture. What a pivot from your regimented background. What let you know that was the key, that if people were comfortable, customers are comfortable, that you could do more business?
Again, I don't, just being really honest here, I don't know that it's rocket science, right? I just having, and I think what I saw coming from, to your point, the regimented, being on time, looking at every single detail, the minutia of my daily life, and somebody really kind of managing that for me, versus where I can meet people and when I bring people on, for them to understand that, like, you're a professional. Like, I'm going to everybody that comes on board, I'm going to treat you like a professional. Nice. And I think sometimes it's very easy for us as business owners to want to micromanage people.
Yes.
And I get it, because we have a lot on the line. I've got a lot of money on the line. I've got a lot of, assets. I've got the agency, all this stuff. And so it's in our nature, I think, to want to micromanage. But where I think we get the best out of people, Steve Jobs said it best, and he says it better than I ever can, but why would I ever hire the smartest people in the world and then tell them how to do their job?
Well said.
They should tell us how to do it.
Yeah. Well said. And I'm a big Steve Jobs fan. Also someone who didn't necessarily wear a white shirt or a suit jacket, but he got some amazing things done. His impact on the world is still felt today. Man, I love how you define culture. And I think everybody watching this, listening to it, can get a real sense, not only from a staffing standpoint, but I can imagine showing up with a suit and tie in your agency, that a customer who's used to the comfortable culture is like, Justin, what's that guy doing out there? He's going to try to sell me something, ain't he?
Yeah. Well, and so here's a funny story. And so when I do interviews, so
Okay.
I've got a whole interview process. And then when we're bringing someone through that process, of course, one of the kind of final steps is to bring them into the office.
Mm-hmm.
And hands down, the last thing I will tell them when we do a lot of video interviews like this, I say, hey, when you come into the office, please, please, please do not wear a 3-piece suit. Because if you do, the rest of the team is going to look at you and be like, why is Allstate here?
Oh my God.
So
That
we
that's
live it. We live it
awesome.
for sure.
What do people say back to that? Like, you want to make an impression, and they're like, I mean, it has to be a next question. It has to be like, what should I do? Is my favorite band T-shirt? Is that okay?
Right. I really, and I genuinely mean it. I don't want you to think there's not a level of professionalism. Of course there is. But at the same time, I genuinely want people to be comfortable. We're not going as far as pajamas for sure. But as long as it's professional and you're comfortable and you're doing your job, then I'm going to treat you like a professional. I think that's what folks want at the end of the day.
I got it. Bare minimum, you need shoes and a shirt to be serviced here in the 7-Eleven. That's the floor. I got it. I can fit in, man. I will be there on Monday. I get it. South Carolina. I've in a prior life as a life operations manager, I had a chance to travel pretty much to every county in South Carolina. And some of the things that the sales leaders at the time taught me about doing business in South Carolina, they said, Kevin, leave the New York at home. When you talk to an agent in the Carolinas, do not start with business. Check on the golfing, the fishing, and the weather first.
Yep.
If you do that, you slow down a little bit, you'll get anything you want. But you go right into the business aspect of it, you'll lose it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, hands down. And it's interesting because I talk a lot to that point. I talk a lot with my agents, and I can legitimately listen to a call, I can grade a call, and tell within the first 15 seconds whether really what the propensity to close that prospect is, based on the sheer question of did you at least try, did you build rapport off the rip with that person?
I love it. So you talk about systems. As you know, I coach a lot of agents, different parts of the country, and building rapport is the first part of the sales process in my world. Agree, disagree?
100%, no question.
So my go-to is Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Yep.
What's your go-to? How are you coaching them up so we can build some rapport before I ask you about all the drivers in your household and year, make, model, and VIN number? How are you building that rapport? How do you coach new people to insurance? How do you get to know the person before you become Billy Business?
Yeah, for sure. And exactly to your point, same thing. We use the Ford model, but what it's interesting is what it boils down to. I tell folks, even if you're not willing to go to that level, if you're not going to talk about their family, if you're not going to talk about their occupation, whatever kind of drives them, the folks we talk to, they're we're in South Carolina. I need you to know something about each quadrant of South Carolina. When I'm talking to someone in Greenville, we might ask them about the BMW plant up there. We may talk about Clemson.
Nice.
And even if we can't get that far,
yes,
we better at least be talking about the weather.
Nice. I mean, that's huge because you're talking about their life. You're talking about the change that they're dealing with in front of them. And you got me before we jump into the game. I get it. I love it. I love your processes. 3 to 13, how are you recruiting? Where are you finding these people at?
Yeah, and honestly, I do Indeed.
Okay.
I don't do anything crazy. I put out some stuff on Indeed, and then we do some sponsorship type stuff. We do the assessments behind the scenes just to kind of check. And I will tell you this, I'm actually not 100%. I will never 100% go off of an assessment.
Right.
because, I've found there are people that could come back as a researcher that end up being your top salesperson. So I don't put full faith and credit into that stuff. It's more of chatting with them, talking with them. But I put a lot of credence, again, in our story. I want folks to be excited about what we're doing, about the growth that we're seeing, that we are legitimately, and I'm not just, trying to pat myself on the back, but we have become one of the top insurance agents in South Carolina in a very short time. And I really sell that story and that brand. Because again, when you're bringing folks on, right, that's our opportunity as business owners to sell ourselves, to sell our brand and our agencies to these people. And so that's what I work really hard on from the very first contact with those people.
Justin, it resonates. Your confidence and your clarity about the story is so strong. And I'm going to ask you about the story in a second, but I want to ask you a question. How tough is it? Someone's listening to this podcast in the great state of South Carolina right now. Both my parents were born in the state of South Carolina, and they're wondering, that sounds good. I would love to get in the insurance business. I'd love to work for the number one agent in the state. How hard is it for one of these people to get licensed and to have the opportunity to work in your agency?
Sure. Yeah. South Carolina is actually pretty forgiving, I would tell you, when it comes to the licensing. And it's funny because I was listening to Greg a little bit ago and the Florida requirements. And I said, holy cow. Ours in reality, it's a couple weeks of studying. We don't have any required study hours. So it's really just a matter of getting yourself prepared through online study courses, in person, whatever, they're going to choose to do. But studying up, again, I would say it's about 40 to 50 hours of material.
Okay.
One of my guys, and again, this just shows you how crazy it can be. One of my guys, I brought him in on a Wednesday, and he said, well, I'm going to go take the test and pass it on a Friday. He had no insurance background.
Wow.
I said, oh, okay. Good luck. I'll talk to you Friday. And sure enough, he passed that thing. Unbelievable. And then he's a special guy. But so that stuff. But again, not I tell everybody it's not the most difficult test in South Carolina, but also not the easiest. It does take a lot of studying for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. South Carolina has a healthy mixture of weather that is a little bit different than in other parts of the country. I can remember when my sister moved back down here, I want to say 1989. Shortly after she moved, big hurricane. You probably can name which one it was. Hugo, that's it. That's the one. Knocked a lot of beautiful trees down. What are some of the things that you emphasize in your agency unique to the local area? I know you're selling across the state, but what's unique? What do you make sure coverage-wise you drill down so people have that local insurance agent added value component that they're buying a policy from your agency?
Yeah, great question. And so, we are a coastal community. Even though we're a little bit inland from Charleston, we sell a lot along the coast, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, you name it. But being a coastal community, for sure, that presents some unique weather challenges. For sure, hurricanes, that's the thing that everybody hears about. So, wind and hail deductibles are kind of top of mind, really, in South Carolina. Similar to other states, we have a wind pool as well. There are certainly risks that, Allstate is not going to take, but we can put the fire and hazard on that property and then go to the wind pool for their wind and hail coverage. So things like that. And what's very interesting, and this one you may or may not even know, Somerville specifically, we have earthquakes.
You threw me. Earthquakes in Somerville.
100%. We're on a major fault line, believe it or not, Charleston. So the 1886 was the last major earthquake through Charleston. Demolished Charleston, and it actually, that fault line runs up through Somerville, and so we get a lot of smaller type stuff, 2 O's, 2 5s, that nature. But they happen, and so those are policies and endorsements that we absolutely talk about.
Right.
Flood coverage, listen, it's not called the Low Country for no reason. You may not be in a flood zone, but I would argue that the entire Low Country is a flood zone. So
I love it. Experience. How many times have you experienced someone maybe buying from a big box company, 800number.com, and they're coming to you, they bought the cheapest thing they could find online, and they're missing these coverages?
Yeah, it happens. I would say daily, weekly. We see it a lot. These big box companies, they will default to very generic coverages.
Yeah.
Their deductibles are all out of whack. They don't understand their coverage. We've had folks that bring policies to us where they legitimately don't have any wind and hail protection on their home.
Wow.
And that's scary. You talk about a gap.
Yeah. You're talking about, we opened this conversation with Hurricane Hugo. I saw those beautiful, very tall trees laying everywhere, and with no wind coverage, one of those coming down, that's a different game. That's a different game altogether. And what people have worked probably generations to accumulate can go away just like that.
Absolutely.
That makes it pretty special. Only 4 years. Maybe you've had a great claim story where you sold someone the right thing and they thanked you later. Anything come to mind as the one person that said, Justin, thank you for getting me in this policy. Without you, my family be in bad shape?
Yeah, I see it. It's more so, I would tell you, on probably the auto side.
Okay.
South Carolina is interesting. So we have, of course, uninsured, which is a required coverage in the state. But then underinsured is not required. So that's an optional coverage.
Okay.
And so we've certainly had claim scenarios, very unfortunate scenarios, with folks that are in accidents. They get hit by somebody else that are underinsured.
Yeah.
And if we had not had that conversation with them for really very little, for a few dollars a month, they can be out without having to accumulate all sorts of legal fees and going through that rigmarole. That saves them just a huge nightmare for very easy coverage to put on there. So we have that conversation a lot, for sure.
No, that's important, and that's huge. It's the beauty of America, the autonomy of each state. And if you don't know that, you'll be in bad trouble. You're in a fender bender with someone that has minimum limits and it can't get you back on the road. You'll be in bad shape. All right. Enough of the technical insurance talk. Let's talk about this short documentary. I'm reading at this big blue sign that you had on Facebook in front of me. Exciting news. We've produced a short doc all about the Farnsworth Family Agency. It says you can't wait to share it. Who wants to watch? How much can you tell me without giving away the plot?
I love it. So I'll make a deal with you.
Okay.
When we're done here, I've got it, of course, behind the scenes. So I'll send it out to you.
I love it. I love it.
And what that stems from, Kevin, we a few months ago really looking to market in the social space, right?
Yes.
So across social media, and really wanting to provide valuable video content, across the social space. And I wanted something that was being done professionally, on a routine basis, because I think that's the number one thing for us. It's very hard we can do it, and you may do it one time, but to be consistent.
Yeah.
And so, really bringing in kind of a content specialist that's helping me out with the video content, and they're doing some really really cool stuff. I watch that thing a lot, and
I
it's super,
love it. Well, I'll wait for the professional doc, but I got to tell you, I like your reels.
love
I
it.
like.
Good.
I think you're keeping it real with your reels. You're right there. They're straightforward. You're telling people one or two, 3 points about home insurance, ways to save, why it's going up. I think your reels are very local and hit the spot. What kind of feedback are you getting?
Fantastic. Again, to me, it's about being in front of folks a lot. And it's not always necessarily being in front of them with insurance information. The other day, listen, we did one about golf. We do them about kind of local avenues they may want to explore. So there's a lot of different content, but what I really try to get across is to have value added content. So
Yes.
that's the goal on a consistent basis. That's what we're looking to accomplish.
Well, the good news is what I love about your content, it's authentically you and you're being yourself. You're not being somebody else.
Sure.
And people buy that. 3 rules of business. So I got to get to know you. I got to
Mhm.
like you and I have to trust you. So I think that's the value of of consistent content. You also were a guest on the podcast talking about home insurance. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that one was that what the one I've done a couple. I've been lucky enough for the opportunity to do a couple podcasts. There was one a few years ago, and then the one that featured kind of the agency about a month or two ago. Um, and so, again, it goes back to being able to tell our story, right? It's about providing our brand because we all know like people they're not shopping every single day for insurance. No one wants to.
No.
They don't wake up thinking about it. We do, but they don't. But when they do, I just want to have that seed. I want to have that somewhere in their mind. Man, why do I know? Yeah, Justin, he that's right. He does insurance,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and that's it. Just I just want to have as much relevant content as we can to be able to be where they are when they are.
I love it. Top of mind awareness. It's not if something's going to go wrong, if Rich, it's just when.
Yep.
So just let's pivot to the community. Dorchester District 2 business partner, Somerville Chamber of Commerce, but the one that I enlarged the letters on is elected member of the Dorchester District 2 School Board.
Yep.
How long? Tell me about that experience. One thing that's universal across the country, every school district is a fiefdom, and it's not easy. So tell me about that. But be nice to the people because the fine people in Dorchester are going to listen to this.
Right. It's funny, and I told you at the beginning when we were chatting beforehand, it really people, DD2 school board member, and it depends if I claim that. It depends on the day. It depends on how many parents are mad at me on that day. But yeah, so I was elected 2014.
Okay.
It's amazing to me. It's just unbelievable that it's been over 11 years now.
Wow.
Crazy. Somehow or another, I've now ended up being the longest serving member on our school board.
Wow.
Some lessons, and this is I think powerful and something that I would say has shaped me a good bit. I ran in 2012 for our school board.
Okay.
And unfortunately did not get elected. And you talk about just a crushing blow because when you really have to put yourself out there.
Right.
You spend money, you spend resources, you go to all the events, you knock on doors, you put everything out there, and then to not come out with a win, that hurts for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And so, and this is something that I really try to and through very real action try to teach and instill to my kids.
Mhm.
It's not what happened; it's what happens after.
Yes.
How do we come back from that, and lessons learned, and how do we get better from that loss?
Yes.
And so we came back 2014 and won, and so how many re-elections? Let's see, 2014, 2018, 22, and then just last year, 24, because there was kind of some legislation changes. So there you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
There's something that resonates with me with you. It's coming out. You drive to be the number one agent, even coming in at new. You build this amazing culture, and now you talk about running for the school board. You learn how what didn't work in 2012, but you remake the commitment to win. And you mentioned your kids. Please shout out your family, acknowledge your kids while you're on the podcast. I'd be really bad if I did this whole thing and didn't allow you to talk about them.
I love it. My family is amazing, unbelievable. You want to talk about like the rock and the foundation, hands down. So my wife Jessica, we've been together since August of 2002. I better get that right.
Yes. Yes.
So 23 years coming up.
Nice.
So
Yes.
just a couple years there, and then my amazing kiddos. I've got two kiddos. Blake is a freshman. He's at school in Georgia. So he's at a small agricultural school there in Georgia. And then my daughter Zoe is still in high school here. So, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So you mentioned them. So you went from winning to your kids to lesson learns. What's your background about responding to lesson learns? In the insurance business, we hear no more than we hear a yes. So we've got to pivot all the time. We got to stay engaged. We can't become emotionally disconnected. I can't say, doggone it, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. 5 or 6 people have said no to me already. I'm done here, Justin. I'm out of here. Where does that come from to you, your attitude toward winning and then accepting that you didn't win this time, but not giving up the long vision that you're still going to win in the long run? Where does that drive come from in you?
Sure. I think it is genuinely a deep-seated belief. And again, I really, not only do I talk about, I try to set the example in my day-to-day life that we have to find a way. There's always a way, and the answer may not be right in front of us at that time. We may lose at this moment. We may get a no at this second. That's a no for now, right? But it's a matter of believing in the fact that there's no other option. There is no, and listen, the past year here in South Carolina, especially with a rate environment, with carrier challenges, you name it, we could certainly just kind of step back and say, well, we're out. Never mind. That was fun.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, we have to. There is no other answer. There is no. We will find a way to win. And I think when you come into it with that mentality, that changes your whole vantage of everything else. Maybe it's simplistic, but it's easy.
Justin, when you speak, I don't know if anyone's ever said this to you, but there's a calm and a confidence and a conviction in your voice. Your inflection doesn't change. You don't get louder to prove that you're right. You don't hide. You don't shriek against it. But there's just a calm confidence and a conviction of a winner. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I have. And again, and I think it's really from every one of us, right? We all, based on our backgrounds, our experiences, where we come from. I look back to my time in the military. I think about my time in the Navy. And so in the Navy, I was an engineer. I operated nuclear reactors, believe it or not. So 21 years old, operating nuclear reactors. And so you think about that, and it kind of level sets everything else. You think about that power, that responsibility. If stuff goes bad on an aircraft carrier with nuclear reactors, that's a bad day.
Now I get where losing is not an option.
That's it. And so I think that a lot of that has shaped where I come from today. And one of the other things that I very, very much believe. And it's very interesting. When I went from the military, where if something went horribly wrong, that meant insane amounts of energy and work. You're up for days on end, you're running drills, you're in firefighter suits, it's 140 degrees, the worst conditions imaginable,
Yeah.
right? Think about that in you and I world.
Right.
On the absolute worst of times in our business, in our agency, 99.9% of what we have to take care of is done on a keyboard and a mouse.
Yeah. 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 And that gives it perspective.
So that perspective, I think, keeps me very grounded. And so, yeah, I just, listen, I love what I get to do. It's not, and we've all heard that, in today's
Mhm.
world, it's not what I have to do.
What you get to do.
It's what I get to do. And I very, very much believe in that.
All right. We're working on landing the plane. It's not a Navy fighter jet. There's no nuclear reactors, it's just a podcast. But you said something about engineer. I know a few Allstate agents with engineering background. Is that where your discipline and attention to details and the processes that you have in your agency, where it comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say so. And I think where I find success, right? I go back to the Steve Jobs of the
Mhm.
of the world, right? And I think where I've got a really great intercept, if you will, right? Because his
Mhm.
intercept was engineering and art. We put that together. We have the
Yeah.
iPhone. Amazing. What I've got, I see it as I've got the engineering, I've got my business degree. I put that together, and then you sprinkle in some leadership stuff. And I think that's a powerful combination. And again, that's really not, I'm not trying to say that to pat myself on the back, but I think that helps build the culture
Right.
because that's what I believe in. And then when other people buy into it, man, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
I would say that just phenomenal how you put it all together. Um, the rate that you're winning at 4 years into the game is phenomenal. It's admirable. Loved having you as a guest. Two closing questions.
Sure.
With all of the focus and intensity that you bring to the workday, how do you wind down at the end of the day? How do you decompress?
Yeah, so I'm a gym guy.
Okay.
I love my gym time. You wouldn't look at me necessarily right now, but there is a pretty decent physique under there.
Yeah, hiding the guns under the hoodie. I get it.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I love the gym. I love spending time with the family. We travel a lot. We love Jessica and I. So our one of the things that we do, and we're very intentional about it, is we travel to a different spot outside of our local area once a month, and we're
Nice.
very intentional about it.
Nice.
So yeah, so you have to find the balance for sure.
I, I love it. Justin, last thing. I know you're going to nail this. This is the Wind Down with Kev podcast, subtitle The Dream Chaser Podcast. I got a lot of folks that listen to this podcast. They're chasing business dreams, other dreams in their life. Can you give them some encouraging words to keep them going?
Yeah, listen, there is no doubt we all have our ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, for sure. But I think what I come back to, right? You have to have a foundation. As long as you have your foundation, right? I will use my talent, resources, and leadership ability to make this world a better place and to make a positive impact. That statement, right? That's my personal guiding vision statement that when the tough gets going, I can come back to that and ground myself to know that there's a bigger purpose.
Justin, give me your vision statement again. I'm a religious note taker. I got caught up in your words and I didn't write it. Give me your vision statement from the top one more time.
Yep. So I will use my talent, resources, and leadership ability to make this world a better place and to make a positive impact.
Man, I love it. That's an affirmation, vision statement. You say that affirmation to yourself every day?
Every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah. Now it explains everything else. This is the grounded, calm conviction, the confidence that it comes from, because you're speaking life to yourself at all times. No matter what else we read, no matter what else we hear, the only thing that matters is what are you saying to yourself in good and bad times. And if you say that over and over, I totally get your calm, your confidence, and your conviction, because you've already decided the outcome. There is no other option. You're focused on what you're going to do.
Yep.
Justin, you have been a phenomenal guest. I thank you, brother, for taking time out of your day to join me here to have this conversation. So I'm going to wrap us up. Any closing comments, anything you wanted to share that I failed to ask you about? Go ahead and say it now before I close.
I love it. Kevin, I didn't get to hear a song. That's what normally I'm used to Kevin's songs, and
you'll hear that on the finished version when we do the introduction. You'll hear a little of my taste in music. You'll hear a little of my taste in music.
All right. Just thank you for the opportunity, for sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, for watching another wonderful episode of Wind Down with Kev. Thank you so much to everyone who has already subscribed and clicked the notification button. If you enjoyed this content as much as I did today and you haven't subscribed already, please click the subscribe and notification button now. Also, please support my sponsors, Carol Media, and Canopy Connect. Could not do it without you, could not do it without them. That being said, let's close it out with a warm Wind Down with Kev clap of appreciation for Mr. Justin Farnsworth.
Thank you.